let's get started. Let's blast off, you know, because I'm already late. You should ask Nick to give your guest room a tech makeover. I told Nick he could stay with me so we can, like set up my entire fucking account, set up my entire house, kit it out like he did with Soda back in the day. Remember my great uncle I told you about with the bears? Here's a short clip of him.
Subject of animals, let's drive down to Harrison, where old Spikehorn Myers holds forth with his family of bears.
Shadow Sounds mic is kind of popping. No, is it?
This eccentric character, known as the Bear Man of Michigan, has spent most of his 80 years with dumb animals, in preference, he says, to human beings. He seems to have a remarkable influence over bears in particular, and although their love caresses, as he calls them, often knock him about, he never seems to fear them. Fear, he says, is readily sensed by all animals, and they are quick to take advantage of it.
Did you say dumb animals?
Even tame bears are...
Go ahead, bro. Tell me Kaya's not a bear. If she didn't have that fluffy-ass tail, he lived with the bears till he was 89 and only died from a stroke. God damn.
dangerous when they are with cubs. But old Spikehorn Myers mingles freely with mother bears and cubs at any time. Traveling northward across the Strait of Mackinac, which joins Lake Michigan.
That's sick. I wish it didn't end so soon. Oh my God, there's a whole there's a Spike show, dude. Slideshow dedicated to him. Here.
The bill is passed, and with that,
we'll get started on the government shutdown. I'll briefly talk about that, and we'll get into some fun stuff, okay? My shirt is my new merch that isn't out yet. I got some of the samples back, and they're so fucking sick. It's one of them. There's more. I showed this to some normie friends of mine, and they were literally like, dude, I need that so fucking bad. Nothing on the back. Do we have a meme for the blast off or what? The way everyone loves her, I know. She is so loved. It's because she's the best, though, honestly. She's so much. She's everything. My whole life. All I got is this. The fuck? That's a nasty ass one. From piss maxing to pets maxing. True. Actually, you're so right about that. She went from piss maxing and poo maxing to just being pet all the time. Hassan and Nick's mom. What is this? Hassan yoinking the speaker and immediately dropping it when she hears Hassan. Yeah, she'll eat it too.
Okay, can I have a bag? Can I have a bag?
She loves gardening.
No. Oh. She's.
Gaia.
Oh. Okay, can I have a bag? Can I have a bag?
She loves gardening.
Oh. She's.
Gaia.
Oh.
Yeah. Why are you always doing politics? If you do it anymore, I will start thinking you're a political commentator. Do you pull all her face skin forward and give her a moosh face? Yes. There's no better way to kiss her than doing that and then kissing all over her face. Hello? Is she getting any bigger? Is this as big as she'll get? I don't know like what the growth spurt time frame looks like for her, but I do know that like they don't stop growing until 2 years, and she's only at 7 months. So she's at 80 pounds at 7 months, so she'll probably be like 100-pound plus maybe. I don't know. Is that what you do to our mom's vaginas also? Yes, Fishdoll, you are correct. Hey, a dude who normally does Roman history vids put out one that talks about the evolution of the workday and how capitalists ruined it. Yeah, I saw this and everyone has been freaking out over this. Is this guy coming out like as a Marxist-Leninist or something? 136 pounds? I doubt it. I think she'll eventually stop growing. I mean, that is what my plan is. That is what the goal is. Anyway, we're blasting off live and alive. Government shutdown averted. Saturday Funday early. Get it now. No offense, but your puppy is pretty fluffy. What's it? What else? No offense, but your puppy's pretty cute. No offense, but your puppy is kind of like the best. Yeah, I do not take any offense to that. She is fluffy as fuck. Nick dying earlier. Yeah, that man is not cut out for this. Bro, I'm so sick of these blue check marks. Your posts have been not up for 2 minutes and the top reply is some racist shit. Of course. Just wait until she starts shedding that undercoat for real. It seems he was kind of harsh on himself saying he's obese. Yeah, I think he's crazy. I mean, he is crazy. He's like, he has a lot of athletic prowess, but he just, he has a lot of athletic prowess. However, he doesn't believe in himself, constantly sells himself short, or then he has moments of like, just like being not so hard on himself. All right, anyway, we're going to get started on the spending bill, okay? It's on track to pass in the House. See the moment that the House passes the short-term spending bill to stop the government shutdown, and then we'll get to fun shit.
Objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on.
A bunch of Twitter idiots complaining about gym accessories. Socialists can't work out now. Wait, what? It's not my house. It's my trainer's fucking father's backyard. What? I think you need to understand that, like, these people are fucking losers and freaks. Okay? Yeah, I saw some idiot saying you had a personal gym and shit, lol. Wait, first of all, even if I did, which I don't, but, like, what's it to them? Even if I had a fucking personal gym in my house, like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm fucking rich, dog. What's up? What of it? You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? Suck my fucking cock harder? You know? Fuck them. Who gives a shit? Let these fucking losers cry about it all day, every day. These fucking soy ass, bitch ass, frail ass, never touch a fucking weight in their life ass, never seen a fucking job application ass, dumb motherfuckers online. Crusty ass bitches. Fuck them. You know? How dare you force me to read your negative vibes on my own stream, in my own stream? I mean, I don't really, I don't see any of that stuff anymore anyway. It's probably some fucking crusty ass limp dick bitch with like a fucking 30 followers and a Substack. You know what I mean? There's no reason to fucking Hasanabi, poor people get a job. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Job application, baby. You know what I mean? Make yourself productive. Okay? We want 0% unemployment. And let me tell you, chirping on Twitter is not a job, okay? Get a fucking job. Do some productive labor. Suck my cock, okay? Sigma Grand said, baby. Anyway. Yeah, who has bigger fear of becoming a worker one day? Landlords or dumb bitches posting on Twitter? Isn't your personal gym the one in the backyard near the pool? Yeah, it's a squat rack, brother. That's not a personal gym. It's one squat rack. But that's not even what they're talking about. They're talking about like the lifting equipment that my trainers have. Yeah, it's a dusty ass squat rack that I bought and never used. Yeah, also, even if I had a personal gym, you know what I mean? So fuck. Like, how are you gonna hate on that? How are you gonna hate outside the club? Okay? You can't even get in. How are you gonna hate outside the club? Wait, what?
What's that?
The delivery driver who shot a YouTube prankster was acquitted by the jury? Wait, no fucking way. Bro, he shot him like right out the... Whoa, I can't show this because it's like obviously TOS, but... Bro, that's crazy. Wait, I gotta see.
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
No.
Hey, quit thinking about my twinkle.
Get out of my business like half second. Stop.
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
Stop.
That's fucking sick. I mean, he should not get acquitted because he did shoot someone. He still got shooting a gun in a crowded dwelling. Like, that is so American. I have conflicted feelings on this. You know what I mean? I have conflicted feelings on this because, like, on the one hand, I'm like, I mean, he was being fucking really annoying, right? But also on the other hand, it's like, you can't shoot motherfuckers for being annoying, right? I'm convinced the jury let him off because YouTubers are annoying as fuck. Yeah, dude, it's pretty fucking wild that like, yeah, it is not a good precedent at all. You can't just be out here fucking capping YouTubers like, look, I'm gonna run it up to the moment that it happens because it's fucking smooth. I mean, you can't even see like any blood or anything, so it's not like super TOS.
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
No.
Quit thinking about my
Get
twinkle.
out of my face.
He goes, get that shit out of my face. Like he pushes it down. And he's like a big dude. He's an intimidating presence. And he keeps walking up to him. He keeps walking up to him as he's like walking back. Look, he pulls out the gun. And boom, like immediately. He pulls out the gun and pops one and then keeps walking away. Which is pretty crazy. He literally just goes boom and keeps walking. He's saying your phone is thinking about my Twinkie. I don't know what the prank was, but I never know what the pranks are in those situations. Just being fucking annoying, I guess. Jury quits man who shot YouTube prankster at the mall food court. Footage of the incident shows Tanner Cook harassing Alan Coley for his YouTube channel, which features other pranks like pretending to vomit on Uber drivers. Leesburg, VA. A jury on Thursday found a delivery driver not guilty of the shooting of a YouTube prankster who followed him around a mall food court earlier this year. Alan Coley, 31, was acquitted of aggravated malicious wounding of the shooting of Tanner Cook, 21, who runs the classified Goons YouTube channel. Yeah, big L for the Gooners today. No, he didn't die, chat. I mean, he gave an interview from the hospital bed. We know he didn't die. I covered it when it first happened. The jury was split, though, on 2 lesser firearms counts and decided to convict him on one and acquit him on the other. The April 2nd shooting at the food court in Dulles Town Center, about 45 minutes west of the nation's capital, set off panic as shoppers fled what they feared might be a mass shooting. Coley pled not guilty and said he was acting in self-defense. The verdict came Thursday, about 5 hours of deliberation. 3 hours in, the jury sent out a note saying it was divided in terms of whether the defendant acted in self-defense. So, obviously, it's not an appropriate response, and he should have been found guilty. Because, like, I think self-defense on that is, like, ridiculous. I think the boundaries of self-defense should be a lot higher. Self-defense with a weapon especially should be a lot higher. You know, I get from a legal setting, like a decent lawyer could make that look permissible, right? Because he's taller than he is. He's up in his face. He tries to first physically retaliate, and the guy keeps coming after him as he turns his back. All of those factors in consideration is the reason why there was a hung jury in this circumstance. Like 100%. So it's one of those moments where like you kind of understand why it happened. Okay? You kind of understand why it happened in a country like the United States of America where he's tall, he has more people, they're mobbing him. This guy's just literally walking around on his way to fucking work, has nothing to do with anything. So I completely understand why some jury members may or may not have been motivated by how fucking annoying the perpetrator was originally, and also certainly looked at the facts and said, well, you know, it's not beyond reasonable doubt. I think I get it. Having said that, though, I think if there should be more stringent rules around being able to use your weapon in public in such a manner, and that the boundaries for illegal activity in that manner should be much, much higher. As in, like, what is considered legally permissible when there's a gun should be much different than like a knife or any other, you know, blunt object or your hands. You know what I mean? Like, once you pull the fucking gun out, it's like you're operating on very different standards that I personally think in a better legal system would find him guilty for sure. Then maybe pranksters shouldn't be harassing people, so not guilty. Also, the prankster should be brought up on charges. Wait, what? Bro, there is like action reaction. What is legally permissible in a situation is very different than like vibes-based politics that you're having right now. No, I mean, it's crazy. Like, a gun kills. You know what I mean? Both parties were very lucky that the gun didn't actually end up killing the prankster. And I'm with you. Like, it's funny to be like, yeah, he deserved it, right? Like, I get it. I get where it's coming from. I get where you're coming from. He's insanely annoying and threatening, right? You don't know what the fuck the prankster is gonna do. Some random ass guy. If he came up to you and you want him to, you tell him to fuck off, and he still keeps pushing. Like, you know, I get why. Law tip from Biomart, who loves giving law tips. In the United States, the person should never be. Is this person guilty, or was this person proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? The question will always be, should this person be subject to human caging in our carceral state? Criminal law is not abstract. So what should he have done? I don't know, not shot him. Pretty simple stuff. Just like keep walking away. I know it sucks. Maybe beat his ass if he has the capacity to do so. But mostly just leave. Maintain trigger discipline. To be fair, he was maintaining trigger discipline. He John Wicked his ass, dude. He just fucking bow and then just was done. He was like, boom, fuck off, and then kept walking. I think like my point always is I err on the side of caution. I always advocate for de-escalation until it's like a super, super last resort. Okay? So I think that action and reaction should be proportional. Like at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break, your reaction to that should be to subscribe for $5 or for free. It's proportional. Or getting gifted a sub if you're lucky. Right? Action, reaction. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Thank you, K Paint, for the 5 gifted subs. UFC Women's World Champ Weili Zhang picks up Shaq. What the fuck?
Oh, take me up. Okay, go.
No, you just stand up.
Okay,
Oh, I thought it was going to be more impressive than that. Like, I mean, that's still very, very impressive. But I thought it was going to be like she fucking fireman carries him or something. No, she could do it if he flexed right. I think he didn't understand. Oh, Soviet Bunyan. Guys, all I'm saying is I thought she was going to fireman carry him. And maybe I think she could. Like, that's all I'm saying. It's still impressive. I just had different expectations. Can I not say that? It's so odd that people are just like, fuck you. No, I'm not saying it's unimpressive. I think it is very impressive that she did that. But I thought she was capable. I thought she was going to do a fucking fireman's carry, which would have been insane, obviously. Anyway. Getting back to the situation. Coley's defense attorney, Adam Puyard, said the conviction of the firearms charge is inconsistent with the law, giving Coley's acquittal on self-defense grounds. He asked the judge to set aside the conviction. A judge will hear arguments on the issue at a hearing next month because he's still in jail. And I think even though he got acquitted, or he had a hung jury on the shooting charges, I think there's still additional charges of like firing a weapon in public. Right? Puyard said during, oh, dude, see, I told you. Look. Puyard said during Thursday's closing arguments that his client felt menaced by a 6'5" Cook during the confrontation, which was designed to provoke a reaction and to draw viewers to Cook's YouTube channel. I told you they were going to use his height. Come on. I told you they were going to use his height. No, that's precisely the reason why it's a hung jury. Because, like, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. Especially if the jury had a short king. Okay? If you have a short king in the jury, he's going to be like, yeah, if a 6'5" behemoth of a fucking asshole came up to me like that, I'd be threatened. Think about that. The tall panic defense, yeah. Tall people are freaks, chat. Remember that. They're fucking freaks. Tall people are disgusting. Attorneys do their job, yeah. Tall people deserve to get marginalized. I think. You're a self-hating tall. I'm not tall. I don't know what you're talking about. Bitch, nobody knows how tall I am until they see me in the real world. Shut the fuck up. Let me cut some fucking propaganda here so I can finally get the NMP Law fans on my side. You know what I mean? Shut the fuck up, chat. They don't know how tall I am. Shut up. Nobody knows. It's a lie. I lie all the time. Yeah, what are you doing up there? Looking for other dudes? Huh? Cruising for dudes, dude? What are you doing? What are you doing up there all high and mighty? You know what I'm saying? Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, let's get back to the goddamn government shutdown and the crisis averted.
The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
There is nothing funnier to me. Like, listen, it doesn't matter what your politics are about, like funding Ukraine, Russia's unjustifiable fucking invasion of Ukraine, but there is something hilarious about like a Republican leader being like, we have to fund Ukraine, and that's why I'm not passing the spending package, which I'm glad he did, because they got everything in this one, as far as I understand it. Then he was supposed to do that. It's crazy to me that 5 Republicans would just like destroy the entirety of the government.
Well, Lauren, there was the gavel. So it has passed. The stopgap measure has passed. And now it's on its way to the Senate.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the next stop. That is the next big question. What is going to happen over there? How quickly can they move? Obviously, we are going to be watching very closely for what Chuck Schumer says and does next. But the momentum coming from the House of Representatives now, and that is such a big turn of events given where we were just a couple of hours ago.
Are a good number of the senators on the Hill today? So
absolutely. They had lunch together. They had an opportunity to have these conversations. So yes, they are prepared because they were supposed to be having a procedural vote. They are all here ready to vote. So we will just see what the next step is.
So conceivably, Lauren, the amount of time that Republicans and Democrats had in the House to read through the 72 pages. Simultaneously, those copies were sent over to the Senate as well. So they could have used that same amount of time to read through it, pour over all those details, and conceivably have a consensus themselves in a matter of hours, since the clock is ticking toward a shutdown at midnight?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And as we've said, you know, these conversations weren't happening in a vacuum.
Yeah.
It wasn't just House Democrats making a decision by themselves. This was a discussion that was had with the White House, a discussion that I'm sure that they had with Democratic colleagues in the United States Senate. So obviously we just need to wait and see what happens. But I think that, you know, this is a strong indication that Democrats do not want the government to shut down, a strong indication that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy did not want to be in a position where Republicans were blamed for shutting the government down. So now all eyes are on the United States Senate and the Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer.
Okay.
What do you mean? He literally could not, like, New York Representative Jamal Bowman pulls fire alarm in the House building, but it says it was an accident. Wait, what? Bowman's office said it was an accident. The congressman told reporters later Saturday, I was trying to get to a door. I thought the fire alarm would open the door, and I pulled the fire alarm to open the door by accident. I was just trying to get to my vote, and the door that's usually open wasn't open. It was closed. Wait, what the fuck? I think he thought it was an emergency door. Bro, the intrusive thoughts won, dude. What the fuck? That's hilarious. Yeah, we need door control. Okay. So, skipping the juror and the fucking dude who failed to kill the YouTuber, and getting to the government shutdown. Kevin McCarthy was stuck between a rock and a hard place. The rock is the 5 sick freak Republicans, or I mean, I guess it was like 21, but, you know, 5 major ones that are just like being a thorn on his side, who say the moment that you fucking collaborate with the Democratic Party, we're going to unseat you, which he had to give those assurances to those freaks. The Never Kevers, right? Who we love and support. So the Never Kevers were just like throwing a fucking tantrum with like some of the most insane demands, okay? Some of the most insane demands. And we're like, oh yeah, you have to give into these demands and, like, you know, pass this in the House with our votes, which, by the way, would have, you know, never passed the Senate anyway. So that would have still effectively shut down the government. He had an opportunity to either do that, work with the psychopathic Never Kever caucus, and you know, put forward a bill that was not going to pass in the Senate, or go along with a deal that they had already cut, which meant, you know, working with the Democratic Party, which would immediately cause him to lose his job. So we'll see what happens here.
And of course, it's got to pass the Senate. So still, you know, the clock is ticking toward the potential government shutdown without those votes. But if there's a way in which to assess this stage here, with the House now voting to pass the stopgap measure, is this considered a victory or a defeat as it pertains to Republican leadership? Not as it pertains to, you know, government staying open or not, but, you know, all eyes were on Republican leadership in this stopgap measure.
Yeah. That's certainly going to be in the eye of the beholder, Frederica. I mean, you saw House Speaker McCarthy say repeatedly that this is what a leader does, that this is what an adult in the room does. They make sure the government stays open. But there are going to be people on his far right who think that
Sims are taking victory laps. Yeah, I mean, in a weird way, they should. Because the reality is, this is the dumbest situation of all time, and it like perfectly demonstrates once again like what is just fundamentally wrong with the Republican Party. But the other reality, the scarier side of this conversation, is that like we should never have this happen. And given the way that our government currently operates, there is no real way to fix it. Truly striking L for House conservatives demanding massive domestic spending cuts. A few days ago, far-right GOP was insisting 10% of cuts to domestic programs were insufficient. Now it looks like they're going to get 0% of cuts instead, albeit also no Ukraine dollars for the time being. It's just so odd that, like, we just have to have this political back and forth, like, what, every 45 days? It's so dumb. It's not a real conversation. That's what makes me so mad about it. And the worst part about it is that pretty much everyone that's playing along in this political theater knows it's fake. Does that make sense? I don't know what else to say about it other than it's pure political theater. And everybody knows it's pure political theater, and yet they choose to act out their roles instead. Like, nobody just takes a deep breath and goes, dude, what are we doing? Like, this is all fake. This is nonsense. Like, we're just making this shit up. As an EU chatter, it's just wild that this conversation even happens in Ireland. I don't even know the budget is happening until it's announced and discussed, like, for max one day. Yes. Because that is how it works everywhere. That is technically how it works in America too. That's the other part. It's just that any kind of obstruction or any kind of hurdle can always be used by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party as though it's like a serious one that we cannot live without. And therefore we have to have like genuine deliberation, genuine back and forth on the matter. When in fact, it's just another technical hurdle that does not need to exist and therefore is very frustrating.
he betrayed the Republican conference, that he betrayed promises that he made to become the speaker, and he could face potential consequences for that. I think that Matt Gaetz has been very clear that he is deeply frustrated with the Speaker of the House, and it's not just Gaetz, there are others as well who have questioned McCarthy's leadership. But I think that there are...
I think the media is wrong for this too. Like, I think the media's coverage of this as though it's like a serious issue. I mean, it is a serious issue if it happens, but like whenever CNN covers this government shutdown as though these are like serious political demands that these never-kevers are making with like genuine ideological differences, like it's just wrong. Like they're lying to you. They know that there is no serious political disagreements here. It's all just theater. And they are allowing this theatrical display to continue by leaning into the seriousness. You know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, there's like some serious differences. There's some serious disagreements here. It's just very odd. Like, why are you doing that? I feel like at this point, you're At this point, you're basically also doing a disservice to the public.
Others in the conference, Republicans who might be running in swing states for whom a government shutdown would have been extremely detrimental to their reelection, who think that the speaker did the right thing today. So leadership and whether or not McCarthy did the right thing, that's really in the eye of different members within his conference. But obviously, there's a huge question mark about what the future for McCarthy looks like now.
This measure now, as is, makes its way over to the Senate. Would there ever be any potential?
Dude, I don't know why people are coming in here asking me why Jamal Bowman pulled the fucking fire alarm. How am I supposed to know? Bitch, I don't know. I've only talked to him a couple times on the phone. And that was years ago when I thought he was like way more progressive than he actually is. Like, he's not my best friend. What the fuck? It's so silly.
Potential of any modifications be ahead of a vote?
That's certainly possible, but time is of the essence right now. We have hours to go until a government shutdown, and changing a bill takes time. You'd have to then send it back over to the House for passage. So, you know, do they want to go back and forth with a volleying effort? I think that remains to be seen. And, you know, obviously there's just a couple of hours now until midnight.
Yeah, and we have yet to hear from Senator McConnell today, similar to how we have heard from House Speaker McCarthy a couple of times today, you know, lending hope to this moment. And now this stopgap measure has.
Senate Democrats have the opportunity to do the funniest thing. Just for the fuck of it. Obviously, they wouldn't do that because that would destroy them. But just for the fun, just for the funsies, they're just like, yeah, you know, actually, we thought this budget sucks.
Received its full endorsement as it will move on to the Senate. Should we make any guesses as to how long before they're able to assemble everyone in the Senate before a vote is to happen?
Well, I think that because members were expecting that there was a procedural vote today, they are around. Obviously, it's always another question entirely how quickly the Senate can be assembled and members can be on the floor, but they were expecting that there was going to be action. Obviously, members recognize that there's a deadline looming, and, you know, they can be there pretty quickly.
Okay, and Lauren, before I'm sorry, what was that? I'm hearing from one. Okay, I am hearing from my producer that House Speaker McCarthy might be coming out very soon. You're going to see him before I do, Lauren, so I know you've got eyes behind your head. You can see him from all angles, so when he comes out, I understand if you have to break away. If you could, Lauren, for us, quickly, just kind of summarize what this stopgap spending bill is all about. It does allow for money toward natural disasters, but it's without Ukraine assistance. What else?
Yeah, this is a 45-day short-term spending bill that funds the government through mid-November. Obviously, this is going to give them a couple of weeks to negotiate a fuller package, but this is where things could get very tricky because House Republicans have outlined to their members a very aggressive schedule that includes voting on individual one-year spending bills that would fund various agencies across the federal government. That schedule and those bills still face long odds in the House, but they are conservative bills that are going to be dead on arrival in the United States Senate. So even though there's this brief moment of bipartisanship potentially happening.
Hey, Chad, has Hassan talked about his stance on Ukraine spending? Don't want to derail the coverage, but I'm curious. I don't think I would spend a dime on Ukraine without conditions. Like, the aid should be conditional, but of course it's never going to be conditional. I don't have an issue with like the aid going to Ukrainian small businesses, in my opinion. Like, but not those kinds of conditions. For the record, let me clarify. Aid from the United States of America under the auspices of U.S. aid oftentimes have conditions of austerity and conditions of control. Not that kind of conditions. Conditional aid, as far as on the weapons side, should revolve around like the obvious boundaries that the American government already sets, like not using it on Russian soil, blah, 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 better tracking measures, but also, you know, with an express purpose of like inevitably ending the war. Air tags. Why not on Russian soil? I mean, ask the American government. What do you mean, why not on Russian soil? It's all a matter of, it's a delicate balance of it is a delicate balance of like not upsetting Russia enough, kind of, from the American perspective at least, that they don't consider it to be like an act of war between America and Russia. But they're slowly but surely, like, maxing out on the tension side. Ultimately, aren't they already fighting on soil Russia claims as it is? No. We're talking about like mainland Russia, like straight up fucking like Russia. Prior to Russian invasion of Ukraine borders Russia. You know what I mean? And they kind of fucking dropped some munitions on Russian territories from time to time. They do targeted strikes and whatnot. And then they also do like drone strikes every now and then. But I think it hasn't gotten to a point where like Russia makes a bigger fuss about it, I guess. But the drones and stuff that they drop on Russian soil, especially like deeper into Russian soil, is oftentimes not American shit. But yeah, my perspective on this has always been the same. Like any kind of aid should be given to Ukraine on the ultimate goal of trying to, end this war, end this conflict. Like Ukrainian territorial gains and W's are good because they're just and they're fair. But those territorial W's should be specifically so that like you can get back to the bargaining table with Russia and create conditions for a ceasefire. Like when Ukraine reclaims its territory, that's not specifically to liberate Ukraine. It's also to show to Russia that like you have better leverage at the bargaining table, right? That's why weapons are necessary in that process. That much I understand. But if the party that is like funding you has no interest in you actually negotiating, then it sucks. You know what I mean? Then it's just like it's never ending war of attrition.
You could then see a scenario where
even Zelensky said they want 1991 borders. Yeah, that doesn't matter. Zelensky can say that, but Zelensky's not a fucking idiot. Like he's also literally agreed to different terms before, or at least like politically has openly said he would kick the can back 15 years down the line for a separate referendum. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's just posturing. He knows it's posturing.
everyone digs back in their respective corners as they try to continue this fight to fund the government for a year.
Mm-hmm. And of course, also at the heart are paychecks.
Borger is also correct. Our Georgian correspondent says, yeah, but I also think their expectations were that by now Ukraine would have pushed Russia back further, and meanwhile Russia is digging deeper for a longer war. Yeah, the counteroffensive that was supposed to launch in the spring never fully launched, or it launched, but it never, yielded the results that they wanted it to yield. And now it's just like back and forth shelling. Who's gaining ground in Ukraine this year? No one. Yeah, exactly. That's why whenever I fucking say, dude, it's literally inches of territory, and people get so mad at me, but like, okay, well, the New York Times is saying it too, you know what I mean? And guess what? There is ground that has been taken at this point, you know what I mean? So technically being like, oh, the front line is not moving is a bit of a copium, because like the front line did move into Ukraine by Russians who directly took this line up to this fucking line. So now there's like plenty of back and forth as like all of the Eastern Ukrainian territories are just getting fucking bombed into oblivion. People are doing trench warfare, but technically the territorial, the territorial gains made by one party is the Russian party. And it fucking sucks. It sucks so bad that they're doing like World War I style trench warfare and just, doing meat grinder shit is really fucked up. Ukraine has made minimal gains in its counteroffensive. Dense Russian minefields and fortifications have made every attack extremely costly. Despite 9 months of bloody fighting, less than 500 square miles of territory have changed hands since the start of the war. A prolonged stalemate could weaken Western support for Ukraine. Both sides started the year with lofty ambitions. Russia wanted to capture the eastern Donbass region, while Ukraine aimed to split Russian forces with an attack in the south. Neither offensive has gone to plan. The front line, after months of grueling combat and heavy casualties, remains largely unchanged. Meanwhile, while this is happening, there's a tremendous human toil here. And you got our politicians going to fucking Kiev and cutting propaganda, being like, "We are excited that this war is going on. It's great. 5% of our military budget, 5% for only 5% of our military budget, and not a single U.S. soldier dying. We've been able to destroy the Russian military and wither it away by 50%." It's like, dude, that's like, there's people dying. You know what I mean? When you talk about it like it's a fucking big business deal, you once again fail to consider that there are fucking Ukrainians getting butchered out there. There's Russian conscripts and shit getting butchered out there too. But it's nuts that Americans are so fucking callous in their indifference when talking about these sorts of things. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's got blowback written all over it. Bro, you heard that? It's crazy. Yes, that number, the 5%, with 5%, we've been able to wither away Russia's, 50% of Russia's military power, is literally a quote. What is this? This ad for Crimeans to sign the contract for joining the Russian army shows a Russian soldier and an alleged Ukraine prisoner of war. They are playing the word game in the ad. The slogan says, "We return the names to our cities." Disgusting, cynical. How would you describe the ad? Wait, what?
Новороссийск. Тебе на К.
Киев.
Волгоград.
Днепр.
Нет такого города.
This is insane, bro. This is like, why are they cutting Hollywood budget terrorism videos, dude? What the fuck? This is an insane fucking first of all, it's copium. Like, Russia ain't doing any of that shit, okay? Good luck, motherfucker. I mean, what are you talking about? Like, the reality of this, okay, the reality of this is, yes, it doesn't look good for Ukraine, but it certainly doesn't look good for Russia either, okay? That's like, you can talk a big game all you want and act like, you know, you're taking over, but like, motherfucker, this ain't Crimea, you know what I mean? You didn't like roll over and have the public go, okay, a referendum at gunpoint, certainly, but it's a little different than the zero casualty Crimean takeover, okay? It's ridiculous. They haven't been able to push past this line in a year. After this war, Europe and Russia will get wide ISIS. They already have it. I talked about this a little bit. Like this past week, where I told you, like, there is a white supremacist, white nationalist network that is blossoming in Europe. Okay? It is blossoming in Europe. Do you understand? You also have extensions of those, you know, paramilitary formations in positions of power. You have it in Italy. It's coming in the form of AfD in Eastern Germany, but Germany across the board. It's coming to France with Marine Le Pen. It's happening. It's already happening. And these networks are 1,000,000% working alongside one another, and they will have a shit ton of good American military, American weapons. And there will be a lot of, in my opinion, paramilitary activity, specifically starting in like other parts of Eastern Europe, and then eventually moving into Western Europe as well. All of them also famously friends of Kremlin? No, I'm not talking about that. These motherfuckers don't give a shit about Ukrainians, and they don't give a shit about the fucking Kremlin. They're like straight fascists. Some of them are friendly with Kremlin. Some of them are friendly with Azov, but all of them are fascists. Do you see what I'm saying? Like they have a different ideological goal. It's more so to stoke fear in the hearts of the population, take over as much power as they possibly can in their countries, and basically institute the same kind of shit that the right wing does here. We talked about the 2025 project here. It's a different version of that, right? Anti-Muslim sentiment being used to propagandize against the rest of the population, applying show of force measures, first starting with like protests on the streets, grabbing on hot button issues and making it your thing. Like AFD was a big COVID QAnon truther in Germany, right? Like there was a lot of AFD adjacent people that dumped dumped a shit ton of logistical support and time and effort into organizing on the boundaries of COVID, vaccine truthers, all that sort of stuff. They do that specifically to organize and get more people on the cause. The right is very good at this sort of thing. First, it'll come in the form of lone wolf attacks and whatnot. They'll pick like certain ideas that they despise, that they think the country will be susceptible to. In America, you see this in the form of anti-trans violence. And it's always being done with the go-ahead and the loose collaboration with like those in positions of power. State legislatures push anti-trans legislation, and then the guys on the ground are the ones who are doing the bomb threats or doing the fucking violence. And first it starts with lone wolf attacks here and there. Counter-protester goes to a protest, like a left-wing protester, whatever, shoots somebody. Okay, they get punished. Everybody gets mad. Then there's another protest. There's a smaller protest to defend the guy who shot protesters. Okay, and then that eventually grows.
Arms Ukraine, we get a lot for a little. Putin is an enemy of America. We've used 5% of our defense budget to arm Ukraine, and with it, they've destroyed 50% of Putin's army. We've done all...
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, this is fucking so gross. Like, this is so... Like, everyone yelled at me like a year and a half ago when I basically was saying that this is their main purpose. And now they're just openly saying it. So all the people that are yelling at me, what's up? Like, how do you feel now? Do you feel like it's like, no, this is actually a great idea? If you're a liberal, for example, this is a bipartisan issue. If you're a liberal, this is a bipartisan issue. This 5% for 50% of the Russian military talking point doesn't just come from Lindsey Graham. It also comes from Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy is one of the first people who openly stated this. Okay? Like, treating Ukrainian bodies like it's ROI is crazy to me.
All this by sending weapons from storage, not our troops. The more Ukraine weakens Russia, the more it also weakens Russia's closest ally, China. America needs to stand strong against our enemies. That's why Republicans in Congress must continue to support Ukraine.
When will you learn their libs don't give a shit? Not even Ukrainians care that they're being used for ROI. Yes, because Ukrainians are... while they do have a nation state, Ukrainians are learning a very tough lesson, or will inevitably learn a very tough lesson that the Kurds learned, where when you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, aligning with the U.S. for unlimited funds and weapons, conditional aid and conditional loans and conditional weapons, but conditions being that the war continues for as long as America wants it to, is not a bargain that ends up yielding positive results. Now, of course, it is a bargain that many will take on when they're forced into that corner that Russia backed them into, which is a fucking full-scale invasion. Like, why the fuck wouldn't you want to defend yourself? Makes total sense, you know? So, yeah, of course, they're like, no, this is great. Like, they're giving us money. They're helping fund our small businesses. Good. Like, there's nothing we can do. In Finland, our neoliberal party formed with the far-right party and other right-wing parties, our new government, and they're doing their best to destroy our social security and even labor union laws. All of Europe is going right-wing. Yes. For the record, the writing has been on the wall for a minute. This ain't new. And this also predates immigration or migrants and the refugee crisis and the war on terror that created like this quote-unquote migrant crisis in Europe. It predates that. The real reason is neoliberal austerity measures. When there are neoliberal austerity measures, your quality of life slowly but surely goes down. And then right-wing elements will point the finger at externalities, red herrings that we know from America. Right? We know how the right operates here. There's no reason for you not to like apply that understanding with different flavoring to Europe. Because reactionary movements do the same thing every time. And then instead of spending that money on yourselves, spending that money on things that benefit the material realities of the working class in your country, which is the most effective way to stop reactionary movements, right? Instead of doing that, you just fucking start spending money on your military, which is even happening in a country like Germany, as a matter of fact. And yet, all is none the wiser for some weird reason. The weird part in Europe is that, like, the right-wing elements are also pro-Russia, seemingly. Because Russia plays both sides every time. They don't give a fuck. They have no ideological reason. They just are doing whatever the fuck they want to do, right? So then Russia, for example, Russia in America does not have as strong of a foothold in, like, the right. They have only been able to, like, dupe some of the stupidest fuckers. You know what I mean? Like, they've been able to convince, like, people who were literally anti-Russia their whole lives because they thought, like, it's the big, bad, spooky communist government, right? And then they're in, like, a couple Telegram groups, and now they're like, you know what? Actually, yeah, we love Russia now because they're defending the West from homosexuality or whatever. And it's ironic because the far right elements are, like, kind of pro-Russia in Europe. It's very odd because once they get into power, they will never be pro-Russia because the far right, historically, post-World War II, has been developed and has been offered material support, logistical support, weapons, and the go-ahead to do violence by, might have guessed it, the United States of America, NATO. Does that make sense? So, like, you will see that when right-wing parties or far-right parties inevitably seize power in Congress, like Italy and Maloney, okay? Once they get into a position of power, they will posture. They will take back a lot of their posturing, their anti-Ukraine and, like, pro-Russia posturing, and will fall back in line because they don't give a shit about Russia either. There's no ideological reason to defend Russia unless you're, like, a fucking dumbass American grifter or something who's like, I love pushing Z. It's so odd. There's nothing funnier to me than, like, being a pro-Russia guy in America. It's just like you're such a unique guy. I'm Hungarian. Orban is pro-Russia as fuck, but not really. Yeah, this is some freak shit, by the way. Straight up. This is disgusting freak propaganda. It's gross as fuck. Russians are insane for, cutting shit like this. How do we get to Russia? Oh, we got to Russia because we were talking about funding Ukraine, which was, like, one of the major reasons why Kevin McCarthy was like, we need to give $20 billion in weapons to Ukraine, so I'm not going to pass this funding package that doesn't have it. This isn't even the only ad. There's worse ads, and they dehumanize Ukrainians on a daily basis, lol. Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. Orban is not pro-Russia, is like how you describe Erdogan, uses anti-West speech to keep in power, and in the end does nothing. Exactly. Listen, chatters, I think a lot of people don't understand what the dynamic looks like in European countries or European adjacent countries like Turkey that are firmly in the sphere of Western influence and are NATO nations. And there's no, like, you can play both sides and try to come out on top like Erdogan does, but ultimately Erdogan is America's lapdog. Okay? Erdogan will secure energy deals from Russia, from Russian authorities. India will do the same. Will sell Russian oil to the rest of the world and become the middleman that, gets a tidy profit off of that. Okay? But ultimately, they are most likely going to side with Western powers, at least for the time being. What are you talking about? We're defending democracy. What? Don't Republicans sort of hate Russia as a talking point? Yeah, that's what's really interesting about that is that, like I said, Republicans that don't hate Russia now and like love Russia are somehow even dumber than the rest of the Republicans who have been blinded into hating Russia for during like the Cold War and the aftermath of Cold War as well. So now it's like it's very odd to be like, I hate Russia because they're communists your whole life, and then you're like 58 years old, okay? And then like a couple months in a Telegram group and you're like, no, actually Russia's defending white people. Like, how did you undo so much Red Scare propaganda and like on a dime just flip, and now you're like, no, actually that's right, they're defending Western civilization, brother. You don't understand it. It's very stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
Paychecks to people from Border Patrol to U.S. military. That was a big concern that many of them would be working without pay. This measure is assuring that there wouldn't be any furloughs. There wouldn't be anybody being asked to work without pay.
This is the definition of Eastern European populism on the third picture of this tweet. Turkey supports Russia. I'm from Ukraine. Turkey supports Ukraine. Come to Turkey. Meet with me. Turkey supports Russia. I'm from Ukraine. Turkey supports Ukraine. Yeah. No, I love... Dude, Turkey is the GOAT at play both sides, always come out on top. Like, this is all they do. Bro, Ukrainians made a fucking song for the cheaply made Bayraktar drones. Okay? The Honda Civic of drones, as my brother called it. Like, reliable, okay? Cheap, affordable, useful. Bayraktars are like the fucking Honda Civics of the drone world, okay? And Turkey makes a lot of them. And they gave so many to Ukraine. And Ukrainians loved it so much, they made a fucking song about it. You know what I mean? But also, simultaneously, Turkey is cutting energy deals with Russia. Turkey is a NATO nation that literally attacks other NATO nations, okay? There is no other NATO nation that has had active conflict and proxy wars with other NATO nations at the same time, okay? Proxy wars in Libya with France, and simultaneously, like, active war from time to time with, like, Greece. That is if you don't even count Cyprus, okay? Which I didn't even think of. Like, there is no other country like Turkey. Nobody does it like they do it, you know? It's crazy. It's funny. And ultimately, the only reason why they're able to get away with it is because our kebabs are delicious, okay? Everybody eats like a little bit of doner, some Adana, and then they just go, oh my God, these guys can do no wrong. Are you fucking kidding me? That's why. It's not because Erdogan is like America's lapdog at the end of the day, and you know, we'll stray away from that. We'll stray away from that, you know, beaten path a little bit every now and then, but still within moderation. But then they put the fucking lahmacun on the table and everyone's like, dude, how are you going to fucking say no to these motherfuckers? They know how to make food so good. Anyway, don't forget about the rice pudding. I feel like I love rice pudding, but I think like in comparison to kebab, like in comparison to doner especially, like rice pudding is all right, you know? Like I like rice pudding, but doner is on a different level, you know what I mean? Turkish food is incredible, but doner is like, you know, our greatest cultural export. Baklava too. Why are you calling Erdogan America's lapdog? He merely plays both sides anyways. He just aims to see for he sees best for Turkey. No, he doesn't. What? Yeah, dude. Erdogan sees best for Turkey. That's why the Turkish economy is doing so good right now. Fuck you mean, dude? Erdogan sees what's best for himself, and that's all he cares about. Get the hell out of here. He's never thought, even for a brief moment, about what is good for Turkish people, okay? That motherfucker has never considered, even for half a second, what's good for Turkish people. If that was the case, Turkey would be in an objectively better place, even by accident, okay? If he even thought about what's good for Turkey, on accident, maybe he would do something every now and then that is good for Turkey and Turkish people. He has never done that and will never do it. He only cares about himself and making as much money as fucking possible. He's pro-immigration. He's against deporting the guys coming from the South. Okay, first of all, if you think that he's pro-immigration of Syrian migrants, okay, well, there's a couple different issues here. One, why are we controlling, as Turkey, the northern Syrian corridor? Okay, that's number one. Number two, that if that was the case, he wouldn't constantly, every couple of months, turn around and like tell European leaders, I am going to sick these millions of refugees inside of your borders. A person who legitimately cares about the safety and security of Syrian migrants would not be using them as a political pawn like his Governor Greg Abbott, okay? So that's number one. And number two, number three, he got money for it and also a lot of political capital to expend in Europe for that reason. Number four is cheap labor that you can fucking use as well. And number five, those guys will always defend Erdogan to a certain degree for seeing him as the genuine the genuine salvation. But yes, Indibi is 100% correct. U.S. literally has Erdogan by the balls. They are using so many corruption charges against him as blackmail. Erdogan is 100% a U.S. lapdog. Erdogan will chirp about a particular thing, and then like the U.S. Southern District of New York will launch a corruption case like that week on an Erdogan loyalist, okay, like an Erdogan partisan, and we'll go, oh yeah, remember when this guy fucking. Remember when this guy just like stole a bunch of money, and Erdogan next week will be like, actually, I was lying. Sweden is the best country to join NATO. It was like such a sick move for Sweden to join NATO. I was always on board with that. Okay? Yeah. He will posture for as long as he can to try and like squeeze deals from European leaders. Okay? He will do everything he can to squeeze the European cucks, the fucking soy European leadership, and they often cave to his demands. And then America will go back and be like, what do you mean Sweden can't join NATO? What the fuck are you talking about? You know? What do you want me to do? You want me to seize your fucking funds, you fucking piece of shit? And they'll be like, oh, I was just kidding. I would love for Sweden to join NATO. Article 5 is my favorite. Just kidding. Do you want more Bayraktars, Ukraine? Of course. Say no more, fam. Like, I got you. That was just a joke. I was just fucking joking. So that's how it works. Soy leadership while the U.S. president almost collapses every speech. Yes, because these countries are not like actually run by their leadership. I mean, maybe European countries are a little bit different, but like America is not run by like Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It's run by corporate interests. And whoever the leader is that's in charge is oftentimes going to do whatever the bidding is of the military-industrial complex, especially as it pertains to foreign policy. When both sides' gains are added up, Russia now controls nearly 200 square miles more territory in Ukraine compared with the start of the year. Like, this is so stupid. Okay, I'm done looking at this. But yeah. Truly striking L overall for the conservatives demanding massive domestic spending cuts, which was really fucked up. Getting back to the United States of America and our clown show here, okay?
But it would mean fully government working with paychecks flowing.
Yeah, I mean, it funds the full government at the levels that the government has been operating at for the last year. And obviously, it is a sigh of relief for a lot of federal workers who didn't know if when they went to work on Monday, they were going to be going to work at all, whether they would be going to work without pay, and what the future really presented. Because there was a scenario where if you get into a prolonged shutdown, it's very hard to get out of it, right? Because both sides are dug in. It takes time for negotiators to start to feel that political pressure, feel the pain of Americans who are experiencing a lack of government services, and really that to start to shake things loose. So obviously,
bro, that would require any politician of any party to have like a shred of morality in their hard drive. Okay? They don't. Like, the idea that Republicans are more considerate and careful about the shutdown if they're up for re-election is a real one, okay? That's a real political calculation that they make because they're like, oh, how much of this will look bad for us? Because right now it looks like we're a fucking clown show. Right now it looks like, you know, especially at the national level, fuck the presidential election, but like every other election, our party is looking real bad because it's infighting. And, like, we can't even throw the stink on the Democrats, which, by the way, ironically, when Democrats held the House and the Senate, that was what was going on with the Democrats. If you remember, I kept saying it's always bad to be infighting and not being able to whip your fucking caucuses because everyone will look at you and go, wow, Democrats can't even pass their legislation effectively. They can't even do that in a fast and expedient manner. What the fuck is going on? Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are the guys that like fucked over the Democratic Party's legislative agenda. And it's not even just them. It's a revolving, it's a rotating villain, right? But still, like that made the Democratic Party look bad because no one thinks about how every Republican is voting against these spending packages that are ultimately good for Americans, right? No one thinks about the demons on the other side if the entire media is covering the other stopgap, which happens to be inside of the Democratic Party. And it's the same thing happening with the Republicans right now, right? Absolutely zero people will blame the Democrats for this government shutdown because it's not up to the Democrats. Like, the Republicans can't even put a fucking bill to the table until today. So that's a calculation, a real calculation that Republicans up for re-election have to make, where they probably tell Kevin McCarthy, like, dude, stop fucking around. Like, we have to push a spending bill because otherwise this is our fuck up. Like, it's good if we put a spending bill forward and then the Democrats say no to it or something and the demands are relatively reasonable and yet they were able to and they're the ones who are unreasonable for not pushing that spending package. But we can't even put forward a spending package. Like, what the fuck are we doing? It's so embarrassing. So that political calculation on the Republican front is real. Like, oh my God, everyone realizes how fucking bad we are at our jobs. However, anything beyond that, like, oh, the morality of like Republican legislators caring about furloughed government employees, like, no, they don't give a shit about that, dude. Get the fuck out of here. They want to fire half the federal agencies and people who work there. Like, that's like a open goal that they have. They don't give a fuck.
That is always a concern, and it's a concern that McCarthy actually laid out repeatedly to members of his conference in private meetings. If you think that our hand is going to be stronger when we get into a government shutdown, you're wrong because of that factor of once people are in pain, once people are feeling the effects of a shutdown, there is a lot of pressure to get out of it. And the history of government shutdowns in this country reveal that usually the side that shut the government down doesn't get what they want in the end because there's so much political.
When did you become a Republican? When I stopped being a libtard, brother. When I grew, when I had a heart, I was a liberal. When I had a brain, I became a Republican.
Pain that they're the ones who are willing to come back to the negotiating table.
And again, while this vote has passed in the House, it is yet to make it over to the Senate. Hopefully that's something that will happen for us to eyewitness and you to talk us through one more time. But in the meantime, even once that were to happen, to avert a U.S. government shutdown.
No, government shutdowns are not a thing, at least on budgets anywhere else on the planet.
As you mentioned, this is for 45 days. So the hard work resumes, and perhaps it will be even more, tougher fought in time for, by November 17, right? So potentially what is happening at that time? How engaged might the president be on Capitol Hill as he was, months ago? Or might this be an invitation at the White House for members of parties on all sides to come to the White House? Let's work this out. Let's come up with a plan that everyone's going to like so that by November 17, we're not back at this juncture again.
Yeah, and again, this is
Yeah, why would they do that? They didn't have to have this happen this time either. They do that because they want to fucking have fake fights. Except this time around, the never kevers gave a gift to the Democratic Party by fucking up the process before the Republican caucus could like organize with a budget that the Democrats would have to say no to. That's it. That's literally what happened. That's funny. I thought you were known as a left winger. Whoops. Oh my God. Some people. Let's not ruin this guy's opinion. I think. Yeah, you're right, brother. I know. Fuck left winger, not me. You kidding me? Better dead than red, brother.
Another moment where McCarthy's going to have to make a decision. Does he continue with this process that he's promised a lot of his conservative members to work through one-year spending bills on an individual basis at levels that Republicans want them marked up at? Or, given the fact that there's only a couple of weeks, does he start to work with Democrats to secure that process? And all indications yesterday were that he wanted to move through that process with Republicans. Mm-hmm. But obviously what happened today is a new dynamic. There's a new question. But, you know, I think that Democrats are probably wishing that everyone had just stuck to the agreement that was made back in May, when there was a agreement to set top line spending numbers and start the process sooner. So I think that there's a lot of people who think this probably could have been avoided, right?
Yeah. All right, Lauren Fox, you're amazing.
Here, major U.S. government shutdowns because we're fucking clown asses. Here we go.
Came into existence, but in charge of funding the government since America came into existence. But these shutdowns are a more recent occurrence. The main problem right now is there are a group of House Republicans who want to use this legislation to include some of their policy preferences, including returning to Trump-era border policies and making cuts to aid for Ukraine and programs concerning childcare, housing, and medical research. Republicans have only a narrow majority in the House, meaning they can only afford a few defections if they want to pass something without Democratic help. The legislation this group wants to pass would not make it through the Senate or get signed by President Biden.
We made a deal. We shook hands. We said, this is what we're going to do. And now they're reneging on the deal.
I mean, he's right.
In the event of a government shutdown, about 4 million federal employees would not be paid. Some of them would be furloughed, but those deemed essential would be asked to work without pay, and then they'd receive back pay at the conclusion of the shutdown. It's possible the effects are different in different areas of the country. The governor of Utah, for example, has already said they're going to use state funds to keep the national parks there open. It's likely that things like food inspections and workplace inspections and programs that help with nutritional assistance will also be affected. But it's also possible state funding could be used to supplement some of the government food programs that usually are paid for from the federal coffers. Some things that won't be affected are Social Security checks, or if you receive your health care, Medicare, Medicaid, or Veteran Services. The Postal Service also will not be affected. Among those who will still receive their paychecks during a shutdown are members of Congress, whose salaries are funded through a permanent appropriation.
That's crazy. Damn, you mean to tell me that when the government shuts down, congressional salaries are not impacted? That's wild. Huh. That's interesting. Huh.
Bill.
Funding the government is one of the most basic fundamental responsibilities of Congress. And if the Republicans in the House don't start doing the job, we should stop electing them.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy could cut a deal with Democrats, but if he...
I thought that was a good thing. You can't be serious, right? Like permanent appropriations for congressional salaries. Like, yeah, do permanent appropriations for everything the government funds and shut the fuck up. That's my argument. Kind of odd that the only thing that gets permanent appropriations is, you know, congressional salaries.
If he did so, it would likely result in a revolt from the hard right members of his caucus. He has cut deals with all sorts of different ideologies within his party, from more moderate members to the hardest right members of the caucus, in order to get his speakership, which took more than 8 dozen votes. His position now is trying to untangle that while also keeping the federal government open.
Not that they need it anyway, given they just inside trade. Yeah, that's ironic because, like, the justification for why the congressional salary is $174,000 a year is quite literally so they're not susceptible to outside influences. Meanwhile, these horny fucks get the 174 grand, they bank it, and then they still do insider trading. So it doesn't even fucking matter how much they get paid at that point. Oh, we need people from all different kinds of backgrounds who can live on that salary. Fuck. Sorry.
And he may have to.
Sean Hannity would never burp in the microphone and never serve you the top of the hour ad break, and I'm doing both right now, which is pretty crazy. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you don't use your Prime sub right now, you're going to fucking see that ad. If you do not want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. For $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime or by getting gifted a sub, there's a 3-minute ad break now, baby. Let's go. After the House CR vote, a final motion to adjourn was offered as Rep. Steve Womack was about to slam the gavel. You can hear someone yell. Womack looks up. It's Representative Matt Gaetz. Womack doesn't stop, and Gaetz doesn't get recognized. That's funny. Shut the fuck up, Matt Gaetz. You fucking bitch. Fuck you. All right, let's watch this Historia Civilis guy doing a fucking... Oh, King Henry the Fourth. Thank you for the 100 gifted subs. And Lero Bang, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. The Man from the Ether, thank you for the 5 gifted subs as well. That's 110 big ones, allowing 110 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Let's get into this. Historia Civilis made a video about work. I don't know who this guy is, but a lot of you guys have been begging me to watch this, and I'm excited. I'm already hooked up. I'm already hooked in. I'm already tapped in. One of capitalism's most durable myths is that it has reduced human toil. Fucking fire. Rainy draws a lot. Thank you for the 51 gifted subs.
We work too much. This is a pretty recent phenomenon, and so this fact makes us unusual historically. It puts us out of step with our ancestors. It puts us out of step with nature. For reasons that will become obvious, anthropologists in the 20th century became very interested in the evolution of work, and so to answer some of their questions, they looked back to Stone Age societies.
You said 30-year-old quote, surely things have changed? Yeah, for the worse, dog. What the fuck do you mean?
Damn, this guy's good.